Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
What's up?
Hello.
Chris Carr is here.
It's basically Christmas now.
But most importantly, because the day after Halloween
Yeah.
is basically now Christmas
Basically
season.
now Christmas.
You guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you've got a thought, theory, opinion, or question that you'd like us to address and you're watching live, go ahead and send it on in to our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, the good news about the tip link is that it's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even if you're not watching live, maybe you're watching this video a little bit later in the day after we've been on live, or maybe you're listening to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting app of choice, and you've got a question too, you can still use the tip link. Just send it on in, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode, provided we deem the question appropriate to be addressed on our show. All right, guys. That all down. Let's get things started with this, shall we? You know, yesterday we talked about the big films coming out in November. Obviously, we got Gladiator 2. We've got Moana.
Moana, yeah.
What was the other?
Red one.
Red one.
Red one.
That's the one we're all looking forward to. I think we can
But no,
agree.
there's another big one.
Elevation.
Well, there's
Wicked.
Elevation, but what was the other big one?
Wicked.
Wicked was the
Sonic
other one
3.
too, right?
Oh, no,
Elevation.
Sonic is,
Oh, that's December.
December, yeah.
Oh, I'm actually getting more and more excited about Elevation. That Anthony Mackie movie, I'm looking forward to it. But Moana itself, I had a few people write into me last night and say, do you really think that Moana 2 is going to be all that big? I mean, and they did raise a valid point that the first one was big, but not like earth-shatteringly big. Like it made like $600+ million, right? Which is great, but not like earth-shattering. And so there have been some people say, you know, do you really think it would be that big? You know, of course, we talked about the fact that Moana has only gotten more popular since it's been in theaters. Again, in 2023, years after it was in theaters, it was the #1 streamed movie out of any of them. The #1 streamed movie was Moana in 2023. And people are still very excited about it. So that brings up the question, how big can Moana 2 be? And that's basically the question a few people wrote in and say, come on, John, like really, how big can it be? Well, there's a couple of interesting little factoids that have come out about that. First of all, the trailer for Moana had 178 million views in its first 24 hours.
Moana 2 or the first one?
Moana 2, sorry,
Okay.
thank you. Moana 2 had 178 million trailer views in the first 24 hours. That makes it the most viewed animated trailer of the year. But more importantly, it makes it the most viewed trailer in the first 24 hours. It puts it on the top 10 list. Now, this list is a little bit out of date, so it doesn't have it. But The Lion King, you see they're at 174 million views in its first 24 hours. So Moana 2 trailer overtakes that. So it's in the #9 spot.
To be fair, half of those were Logan.
Well, granted.
On a
Yeah,
loop.
but he's
But he
probably going to be
counts.
contributing to Moana 2
That's
as
true.
well. So it all equals out.
It all comes together.
Now, I want to point something interesting out. With Moana 2 sitting in the #9 spot now, replacing The Lion King, that means there are 8 movies ahead of it that had more interest in its trailer when it first came out.
Sure.
Those are Avengers Infinity War, The Lion King, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, another Avengers Endgame trailer, Spider-Man No Way Home, Deadpool, and Wolverine. I want to point something out. All of those films, with the exception of the only R-rated film, or one of only 2 R-rated films in there because of Deadpool and Wolverine, it made over $700 million at the box office, an R-rated horror film. Every other movie that is ahead of Moana 2 was at minimum a $1 billion film. And a few of them under it are $1 billion films. Fate of the Furious was a $1 billion film. That Lion King one, again, obviously $1 billion film. Thor Ragnarok wasn't $1 billion, but it was north of 800 million. Spider-Man Far From Home was a $1 billion film. I mean, so it sets it up right. Now, if you want to get into a more updated context to talk about it. Let's compare it to the biggest movie of the year so far, another animated film, Inside Out 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these aren't definitive, but it's really interesting information. Moana 2 is the number one pre-sales tickets of any animated film this year for its day one pre-sale tickets. Inside Out 2 is now number 2. So Moana, on its day one of pre-ticket sales, sold more tickets than Inside Out 2 did. Also, the trailer for Moana 2 got more interest than the Inside Out 2 did. The trailer for Moana got 178 million views. The trailer for Inside Out 2 got 154 million views, which is amazing. Now, obviously Moana 2 has not come out in theaters yet, but it should be noted that Inside Out 2's opening weekend made $154 million. And its overall box office, again, number one film of the year so far in 2024, 1.69 or nearly $1.7 billion.
Insane.
Now, the only two comparables on here are pre-sales and trailer views. Mm-hmm. And in both of those, Moana is tracking ahead of Inside Out 2. Now, the projections right now are saying Moana 2 is going to make around the mid 80 millions on opening weekend. But just remember, the early projections for Inside Out 2 was also around mid 80s. Mm-hmm. Inside Out 2 made 154 million opening weekend, and Moana 2 sold more tickets on its first day and had more trailer views. Now, am I saying that automatically means that you should take to the bank that Moana 2 will make 150 million plus on opening weekend? I'm not saying that. But I am saying, despite the fact that the projections right now are saying like mid 80s, I'm very comfortable putting my money that it easily clears 100 million.
Yeah.
Like I am very willing to put money on that it will easily clear 100 million and maybe even compete with Inside Out 2's 150 million. All I'm going to say is, how do I really think Moana 2 can be that big? Again, what are the concrete pieces of information we have? We have that it was the first movie was the number one streamed movie of 2023. We have that it's the number one in the realm of animation, over Inside Out 2, the most first day ticket sales, and more people watched its trailer. That does not automatically mean anything, but I think all signs point to this being pretty damn big. Anyway, Chris, you know, we saw the numbers. Mm-hmm. We saw it broke some pre-sales tickets. It crushed with trailer views. Obviously, the property is more popular now than it was when it first came out. How big can Moana 2 be? And ultimately, I mean, we're way in advance. How will it compare to Inside Out 2, do you think?
Oh, I think this is going to be huge. I think this is going to be such a big opening, especially because what a great time to have a movie coming out that Thanksgiving weekend, right? That Wednesday through Sunday is your opening weekend, essentially, which is a lovely, lovely time slot. The numbers from Moana have consistently been great. The streaming numbers that you brought up, the original box office, it did very, very well. And those pre-sales, I mean, I'm a person who doesn't care about getting my tickets in advance. I see a movie when I see a movie. But shout out Kevin Rivera. You watch this show. Moana has a nacho boat, a popcorn bucket.
Yeah, Ray was just showing me that.
All kinds of stuff that Logan is so excited about.
The nacho boat is very creative.
The nacho boat's cool. It looks like a good piece of figure without the nachos in it, honestly. I like it a lot. We're going to put it right
Regal,
next to our
right?
AA. Yeah, that's Regal.
Yeah.
Regal's finally given us a good little exclusive. So I feel like this movie is going to do really well. And I mean, not only was this just the first Moana, a lovely, wonderful story that was really just beautifully done with great music. I mean, it also had great critical acclaim. It got Oscar nominations.
Yeah,
There's
it was
a lot
wonderful.
going for this one. So this is one that I think families are going to see on repeat, especially over that holiday weekend after already stir crazy with your kiddos or your cousins or whatever. And I do feel like as long as it delivers, this is going to be a repeat view as well, which is one of the things we saw work so in Inside Out 2's favor is those repeat viewings.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm thinking Moana 2 is going to beat it on opening weekend. Whether it ultimately beats
You think it's going to exceed 150 million opening weekend?
I think so.
Wow.
But what I don't know if it's going to ultimately overtake Inside Out 2 because Inside Out 2 had such legs and people were like,
crazy legs.
You need to go see this. It's cathartic.
Yeah.
You need to go back. You need to, you know what I mean? It was like repeat viewings and a lot of word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
If
Now-
Moana has that word of mouth, it'll be bigger. But I think opening weekend, this looks more like an adventure. So people are going to go pile in, you know?
I think so.
Now, one of the interesting little pieces of this too, we said that it was the number one day one pre-sale tickets for animation, right? There are a couple of live action movies that have sold more on its first day of ticket sales. One of those was Deadpool and Wolverine, and that made over $1.3 billion. The other one is Wicked. And again, I get a lot of people saying, no one's going to go see Wicked. John, you're crazy. Wicked's not going to be big.
I just don't understand this.
I've been telling you guys for 2 years it's going to be big.
The play sold 250 million tickets.
Yeah.
A 250 million tickets.
It's
What do you think the
huge.
movie's going to do?
Exactly. And have you ever been to a Denny's or an IHOP after 9 p.m.? It's just theater kids.
I try not to,
Theater
but
kids singing La Vie Boheme and Wicked. All right? They're all going to come out for this. This is going to be a huge box office.
All right, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, opinion about how big Moana 2 can actually be is pretty wide. Where do you think it's going to fall? I think it's going to be pretty monstrous. Maybe not as big as Inside Out 2, but it's going to be huge. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. You know, they dropped the first trailer back at D23, our first real look at the upcoming new Star Wars series, Skeleton Crew. Now, I got excited about Skeleton Crew, at least modestly excited about it, when I found out that John Watts was doing it. John Watts, for those of you who may not know, because he's not a household name yet, he's just the guy who directed Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Spider-Man No Way Home. He directed those 3 monstrously huge hits. And they were really good, by the way. And his writing partner on that, I think, came along with him as well. And they're making Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So right away, I'm like, okay, you got a great storyteller. I'm on board. And then they showed us the first look at it. And I kind of adored it because it was like, this feels like such an Amblin Entertainment mid-80s kind of throwback adventure film. I'm like, yeah, this feels, it makes my heart smile. Well, they just dropped this morning a full trailer for Skeleton Crew. And it is fantastic. Oh my God, it's so good. Because, you know, we said before, the things that really charmed us about the first look was that it felt like Goonies. It felt like E.T. It felt like Amblin Entertainment. This just solidified it. It's glorious. I've heard some comparisons saying, if you want a generation jump, it's E.T. and Goonies and Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like all mixed into it with the tone of the mid-80s kind of stuff. You know, one of the things I was telling Jonathan, Chris, that I loved about this trailer? When you first hear the music for, I thought, using a real world song instead of orchestral music for a Star Wars thing, that's a little bit weird. But then when I heard them use a Star Wars alien language to sing, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is perfect.
Well, if they say Earth below us, then everyone's going to be like, then Earth is in the Star Wars universe.
Even that aside, just having an actual real world song.
Sure. Yeah. No, that was the first I've ever heard that.
But understanding the feel of this movie, just replacing the dialogue, the lyrics with Star Wars alien language lyric, I'm like, this is so good. And I watched the trailer over and over like 3 times. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that I also really like the trailers for Obi-Wan. And I did not end up really enjoying that show. I would also be remiss if I didn't point out that I quite liked, not as much, but I quite liked the trailers for Ahsoka. That didn't turn out so well either. And I quite liked the trailers for The Acolyte. And we all know how that turned out. So great trailer clearly does not automatically equal great series. The big difference, John Watts is doing this.
That's what I was going to say.
John Watts is doing this. I have complete belief and complete faith in John Watts. And the feel of this is so Spielbergian. It's just, I'm literally salivating now to watch this series. I cannot, it just made my heart smile. Watching this thing just made my heart smile. If the series turns out to be half as good as the trailers, I'm going to be very happy. Anyway, Chris, we have not had a chance to talk about this yet. You saw the trailer. How did you feel about it?
I love it. I love it. Goonies in space. I love it. It's perfect. I loved the song choice and adding in that Star Wars language. I think it's so great. I love having an alien in the main core crew.
Yeah.
I have missed this in Star Wars. Star Wars is in a galaxy far, far away and is almost so always about humans or humanoids that sometimes it does make it go, oh yeah, this is in space, or oh yeah, this is in a galaxy where there's a whole bunch of diverse life forms. So having Neil in here, having a baby Max Rebo, to your point there, Ray, that we were talking about before we started, an Ortolan up in the mix here, that makes me so, so happy. Hopefully they don't play jizz music because I don't want them to have to explain jizz music to these children.
You know what I love about this whole premise is that when kids are given the reign to go anywhere or do anything, they run into a lot of new stuff, right? So we get to meet a bunch of new characters, a bunch of new places. I hope they really go all out on the adventure part of this, because that's the best part of these like little group of kids movies. I think it's just the trouble they could get into, the things they could learn, and you know and they could unite together.
Yeah.
Jude Law, I thought was the villain at first.
No, he's reluctant space daddy.
Yeah, but he looks.
Or is he reveal?
No, he's
villain?
Reluctant Space
He's
Daddy.
reluctant space daddy. Don't
You
take
I will
me
accept
behind
nothing else.
Don't take that away from
Even
me.
if they reveal that, I'm like, no.
No, that's reluctant space daddy. Favorite genre of all time.
And the shots look great, especially the ones in space where they're flying in the ship, or if that's them in
Oh
the
yeah,
ship.
visually look great.
I mean, it's an upgrade from a Acolyte for sure.
Well, aesthetically, it looks like they're leaning towards Andor with a lot of on-location shots.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly.
And that's not going to be a qualifier for quality, but it is an aesthetic that I appreciate.
Well, it makes you feel more like you're in this intergalactic, bigger
Sure,
world than when
sure.
you're just on
Than
a
just like on a
Vulcan.
stage.
Yeah.
Now, the animation side of Star Wars has always done that, right? Like even in Rebels and things like that.
Yeah.
But live action, obviously, it's a little more complicated and complex. It's a lot easier. But what is the little kid's name? The little Max Rebo kid?
Oh, Neil.
Neil.
Just when he goes, take the control.
N-E-E-L.
When he says, take the controls, and he says, okay. And then the other kid, Neil? I'm like, I am so fucking charmed right now.
Oh, I would die for Neil. I have already.
Right now, I would die for Neil.
Anything happens
It's
to
before he got
sweet
the
baby
wrinkles.
Ortolan, proving to us that Ortolans have legs. Thank you very much.
Everything I do,
I
do it for Neil.
I'm telling you, if that character is not going to sell in stores, it's
Oh yeah.
Look
it's
into
the
my
next
trunk.
Grogu.
One of our live viewers, Chubbs GPT, wrote, "I'm going to switch my LinkedIn occupation to reluctant space daddy."
There you go.
Yep, that works. I adored this trailer. I thought it was great. There is going to be a reveal for the Jude Law character. Like, is he a Jedi? Was he? Some people thought. I mean, there was early speculation after D23 that he was Palpatine. That he's, but they were quickly reminded the timelines don't shit. But then that theory evolved to he's clone Palpatine, and
He's using the
I don't
kids.
Let
think
him
so.
die
Yeah,
It's to get what he wants.
Somehow the Emperor has returned again.
again.
Guys, I think this trailer is bonkers good. Coming on, and listen, just give me this, because coming off the Acolyte, I need something in Star Wars to excite me.
Yeah.
So give me this. I think it looks great. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? We've got a brand new DCU coming. Of course, it's going to be, big screen wise, kicked off with Superman. We've got Creature Commandos coming as well on the TV screen in animated form. But lest you forget, there's another DC movie actively in the works, which is Supergirl. Now we've got our Supergirl. She's been cast. I forget, what's her name?
Millie
Alcock?
Alcock.
Alcock, that's right. Millie Alcock from House of the Dragon, who is so good in House of the Dragon.
incredible.
I think she's going to be a bonkers good Supergirl. I think she's going to be an excellent Supergirl. Anyway, the casting continues as now one of my other favorite shows from last year, Three Body Problem, they've just added a cast member of theirs to the new Supergirl movie, as Deadline is reporting that Supergirl, fine, sir, you got to forgive me, guys, I have no idea how to pronounce this. I've read it a couple of times, but I don't know how to pronounce it out loud. Ruthie Mary Knoll in the Three Body Problems, Eve Ridley has joined the movie. This is what Deadline has to say. Sources tell us that Three Body Problem actress Eve Ridley has landed the part of, again, I'm not sure, Ruthie Mary Knoll, or Knowley, in DC Studios and Warner Brothers' Supergirl. The movie is based on Tom King's 2022 comic book series Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, in which, again, forgive me for pronunciations, Bilquis Evely illustrated. Anne Noguera adapted the comic book for the big screen. In that comic, the bad guy is Krem of the Yellow Hill, who kills a young alien girl's father. She draws Supergirl into the conflict. Noli is a noble and honorable warrior who travels across the galaxy with Supergirl to hunt Krem for killing her father in cold blood. Dun, dun, dun. Now, if you guys will remember her, Eve Ridley from Three Body Problem, she's a wee little girl
Who just keeps dying.
who just keeps dying over and over and over again. Now, she is like, I don't know when they shot Three Body Problem. I don't know if it was shot 2 years ago. So I don't know how significantly different she's going to look now. But clearly the first thing that jumps out to me is like, wow, she's young. She's young. So maybe they're adapting that a little bit, but she was really good in Three Body Problem. And so I just going to trust them at this point that if they're adding her, you know, it's really exciting to a lot of people is that they're adapting that story, that Woman of Tomorrow storyline. A lot of people
newer
seem
one too.
very, very excited about it. And it's kind of dark.
It's incredibly dark.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting seeing James Gunn. I mean, he's not directing it personally, just this is his DCU, seeing how they're going to go with that. So it's an interesting addition. Chris, you read about this. What do you think about the addition of Eve Ridley?
Ooh, it's very interesting because Eve Ridley is tremendous. She's so great in Three Body Problem. You absolutely care about this little girl immediately in that show because she just keeps dying in these horrific ways and does so each time in a way that she suffers, but also makes you, the audience, feel guilty as the people participating feel guilty.
Right.
So well done, so well executed. She's only 13.
Oh, is that how old
Currently
she
in real
is?
life. She is
Yeah.
13 years old. And
I actually would have guessed a little bit younger.
Yeah, me
so-
too.
yeah, but she, well, in Hollywood, right? Playing younger
Sure,
and all
yeah.
that good stuff. But it does make me very interested in where they're going with this story as well. With Woman of Tomorrow, it's a pretty brutal story.
Yeah.
It's a very, very violent story. And I feel like this is going to push the envelope on what we all feel comfortable with, too, of a lot of times we see heroes who have superpowers and, well, they're superpowered and they're fighting aliens and we don't really see them get horrifically beat up. You do in that comic.
Right.
You absolutely do. And I'm wondering if that's part of this new kind of perspective on DC right here of, yeah, we've always seen like a very beautiful, poised Supergirl and her friends. What happens when they actually have to deal with true intergalactic warfare and an actual like war criminal and someone who does horrible, horrible things out of a brutality kind of mindset? Because we've had Thanos, right, committing actual genocide, but with a snap and with some things that have been distanced off. We haven't seen him
It was
really like,
sanitized.
brutalize people.
Right,
Exactly.
it felt very sanitized.
And so anyone who isn't familiar with the story, highly, highly recommend go grab this comic book. It's really, really fabulous. It came out in 2022, so a very, very recent story, all things considered, I
Yeah.
believe. So I'm interested to see how they handle her and if it's handled with kids' gloves or it's, no, if you have children warriors, this is what it's like.
I think one of the interesting things too to keep in mind about how dark the story can be, let's not forget, this is now James Gunn running the DCU. And if you look at his Suicide Squad and you look at his Peacemaker, on the one hand, Great humor in both of them. They were fabulous. Great emotional depth to them as well. But no fear in being graphically violent. James Gunn doesn't have kitty gloves on when it comes to making. Now, he's not going to have all the DCU properties be rated R.
No.
But he's clearly not adverse to having really graphic violence.
Look, you look at what he did with Guardians 3.
Yeah.
They
There's a big body count in Guardians 3.
Florentief's Go Now still messes me up.
Oh.
Like that. Oh, I sob every time that scene happens. And it's again, he doesn't pull any punches. And that's not a rated R film. It's just so horrific that someone would do that to someone or something,
right,
that you immediately are just, it's just a punch to your chest. It's horrible.
And not to mention, like, the whole part, like when Star-Lord and Groot are kind of in that room, and then Star-Lord's like, kill them all. And like literally they then kill them all.
Yeah.
Or when they're that great action sequence in Guardians 3 when they're going down the corridor and all the Guardians are like killing all the
with No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Lot of killing.
Well, I mean, you have that entire
good.
planet that we had just seen people in their homes, people pushing their babies in carts, and they're all getting blown up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. The cast list for Supergirl continues to expand, and they've just added the girl from Three Body Problem. It's all going to be about how do they use her, what's the character, how are they going to manifest it. But whatever you guys feel about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, listen, we still got to talk about the fact that, excuse me, they're doing 3 live action Lego movies. 3. Okay, that could be interesting. And it's official now. Game of Thrones is having a feature film developed by Warner Brothers. What are they going to do with it? Which direction? What era? We're going to talk about all that stuff. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Perfect Gene. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Gene. Look, you guys know I've been talking about The Perfect Gene for a while now. I absolutely love these. They fit like a dream, they look fantastic, and they are so comfortable, you forget you're even wearing pants. We all love jeans, but look, we all also know they can be a little bit uncomfortable for the boys, but not with The Perfect Gene. These jeans fit like they were custom made, stretch like you wouldn't believe, and they look absolutely fantastic. The Perfect Gene also has a seriously massive range of sizes, everything from 26 to 50 and lengths of 26 to 38. These have become my absolute go-to jeans whenever I'm hanging around the house or even going out for the day. And listen, the Perfect Gene isn't even just pants. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. My guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectgene.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with the promo code Campea. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get The Perfect Gene. And thank you to our friends at The Perfect Gene for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's go on to this, shall we? Remember the Lego movie? Chris Pratt and doing the voice. It was so good. I could not believe. I thought it was such a dumb idea to do it. Like, you're going to make a movie about plastic building blocks. Fell in love with it. Then they did the Lego Batman movie, which might have been even better. The problem was nobody went to go see it. Like, it should have made like $800 million. It made like $300 million. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, the Lego Batman movie was great. Then they did a Ninjago feature film, and that made even less. And then they did Lego Movie 2, which wasn't as good and didn't do as well. So the Lego kind of on the big screen stuff kind of went away. We just had Piece by Piece in theaters right now, kind of trying to revitalize the whole Lego thing. Well, a really interesting piece of news came across the wire. Apparently they're looking at doing 3 Lego movies. Okay, that's what's weird about that. No, they're thinking about doing 3 live action Lego movies. And they're getting some pretty heavyweight talent behind it. This comes to us from Deadline to write, Jake Kasdan, Patty Jenkins, and Joe Cornish are set to helm the live-action Lego movies for Universal. Let me read this a little bit in depth here because it's interesting. The Lego Group, under its deal with Universal Pictures, is making 3 live-action movies with directors Jake Kasdan, Patty Jenkins, and Attack the Block filmmaker Joe Cornish. The plots of all yet untitled 3 movies are under wraps. Jill Wilford, Ryan Christians from the Lego Group are producing all 3 projects. Universal's Executive Vice President of Production and Development, Matt Riley, and Director of Production Development, Jacqueline Garrell, will oversee the projects for the studios. Kasdan is directing off of a script by Andrew Mogul and Jared Paul, The D Train and the Grinder, based on an original idea from the makers of The Pickup and the Animal Friends. Kasdan will produce with Mel Maher through his production company, Detective Agency. The director of the $1.76 billion grossing Jumanji movies and Amazon MGM Studios' upcoming Red One. I won't pass judgment on him for that because I haven't seen Red One yet. And so on and so forth. Then they go on and talk about how Patty Jenkins' Lego project is from a script that she wrote with former DC Entertainment president Jeff Johns. Jenkins is producing via her Wickus Pictures and on so on. And Cornish's toy brick movie, he is rewriting from a draft by Heather Ann Campbell of Rick and Morty and One Punch Man.
Yeah.
So, okay, I have thoughts. They're unrefined, but I'm just going to give them to you because I just found out about this morning. I have several questions. One, how does one do a live action Lego movie?
That's what I was wondering too.
Now, is this going to be likened into a situation like, say, Sonic? Where it's live action, but Sonic himself will be CGI. You're going to have CGI Lego characters in a real world environment with real world live actors.
Or real life, or like...
Or are they going to be wearing costumes? Is it going to be practical Lego costumes? Probably
Or is
not.
it like Minecraft live action in a generated world?
Oh.
Yeah, like maybe. But, you know, one thing Jonathan mentioned beforehand, a thought that I'm sure a lot of people has, like, maybe they just accidentally said live action. It's like, no, because it's in the title, but then
They
you read the
repeated
article,
it.
they
Yeah.
specifically go out of the way to say this is going to be live action. Like, oh, okay. All right. Now, I like the filmmakers involved. I really like Jake Kasdan. I mean, Wonder Woman 84 aside, I really like what Patty Jenkins has done so far. And I really like Attack the Block.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm on board with the filmmakers. That's all fine. So my first question is live action Lego, but here's my second question and maybe the more important one. Remember when Universal announced a big cinematic universe before the first movie even came out? Remember that? They were doing their dark universe that started with The Mummy, but they had already announced like 5 other movies. And even without them standing in front of a filming camera at once, they did photo shoots with Johnny Depp and Russell Crowe and Javier Bardem. And
Some of us took meetings with Universal about that dark universe
That
for
didn't
it to
turn
come
into
to no
anything?
fruition whatsoever.
well, just as well, because the movies didn't happen.
No.
So remember last time Universal did that? It's like, oh, hey, Universal, remember how much you brutally embarrassed yourself when you tried to announce this series of films before you even had the first one come out? And then you did put out the first one. And listen, I don't care how much people disagree with me. I don't think Tom Cruise's The Mummy was as bad as it's made out to be. I didn't think it was particularly good. Don't misquote me. But I don't think it was as bad as some people made it out to be. I thought it had some upside, regardless. The film failed. And the whole dark universe, like a fart in the wind, gone, disappeared. So
That's what
why
you
not?
think.
Why not just announce we're doing a live action Lego movie?
Now 3.
Not 3.
Yeah.
Why not just announce, hey, we got Jake Kasdan doing there's something interesting, something new, something different. We're going to try the live action. And then very quietly, keep the other ones under wraps and then just wait and see how the first one does. Does it turn out to be any good? Does the audience like it? Do they come out to see it? Does it fall in its face? Does it make you a fortune? Does it lose you all your money? I mean, why not do that? Like, why have they not learned their lesson here? And listen, if this was a Lord of the Rings kind of situation, where it's like you're launching Lord of the Rings, everybody knows there's 3 books, everybody knows there's going to be 3 movies. That's one thing. But you're starting something from scratch here. I don't understand the mentality because, Chris, if this first one they do is great, fine. Everything works out fine. Yeah. But I feel like they are just demonstrating that they have not learned from their mistakes, that they are just setting themselves up to be embarrassed here. So I don't understand the idea of a live action Lego movie, but that's fine. They haven't shown us anything. Maybe once they do, we'll get it. But the whole notion of announcing 3 movies with these directors and these writers, and I don't get the wisdom behind this. Anyway, you hear this story. What do you think about it?
It was very confusing to read this article of just, Lego movies. Wait, live action movies. Wait, what? Oh, wait, with these directors?
And there's 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Joe Cornish is honestly the one I'm most excited about. 1, because I love Attack the Block. And 2, he was a writer on Tintin, which I love so much. Supposedly we're getting an Attack the Block too. I'm hoping that still happens. But I am a little dumbfounded by the idea of a 3-order Lego live action. I really enjoy the Lego movies. I particularly love Lego Batman. I think Will Arnett kills it in that role, and I'm so sad that we haven't had more of that kind of stuff. Hopefully this is a good idea. Hopefully these are well executed. But I'm not going to hold my breath, is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, Universal doesn't want
They actually have a shot right here. The early.
That's a good point.
That's it. Our first shot, our first on-set picture of the live-action Lego movie.
That's Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
It's called 3 Lego Problem.
Lego problem? Oh,
Hey, that's good.
that's so good.
Thank you.
Well done.
You guys can have that.
Thanks. 3 Lego problem.
Take it to your friends. Make some more.
I do want to address something that somebody brought up in the live chat. Heston Roberts is saying, what's the difference between them announcing 3 films and DC announcing even more? It's like I just said. It's one thing if like they were to come out right now and announce a Lord of the Rings thing. Well, everybody knows Lord of the Rings, and they know there's 3 chapters to that. And they know they're clearly going to be planning to doing all of them. Mm-hmm. When you're launching a cinematic universe like DC, which you already have loads of, foundation, you have loads, like everybody knows if you're making a Superman movie, you're going to be making a Batman movie. Like everybody knows this. And then everybody knows that DC is not going to make one movie, and then if the first movie flops, and then they're not going to make any more. No, they are going to build a cinematic universe because it's DC. Everybody knows it. There's already groundwork. It's a completely different thing than we're going to do this totally new thing. Because when you do a mummy movie, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do a Dracula movie.
Right.
No.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do a Frankenstein movie. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do a Wolfman movie. It doesn't necessarily mean, not at all. They're individual properties.
I don't even know, based on this article, if these 3 are even tied together.
No,
honestly.
my guess is they're not.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know because the article doesn't give too many details on that. But yeah, it is a fundamentally different thing doing that with, say, something brand new that we don't even know if this concept is going to work. DC understands that superhero movies can work, right? Like that's stuff. We have no idea if this live action Lego concept is going to work. Like none. And it's not like a Lord of the Rings, which has generations of pre-existing fans that you can at least have as a starting point. This, no idea. What we do know is that it's based on Legos, which, despite the success of the first Lego movie, has not had great success on the screen since. Again, Lego Batman movie was awesome, but nobody went to go see it. And then Ninjago did the same thing, and then Piece by Piece isn't exactly blowing up the box office. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of question marks surrounding that. Compare that with a situation like a Lord of the Rings or a DC universe or a Marvel universe. It's a completely different ball game. So completely different scenarios that you can't compare. So I don't know. It's very, again, and I say this conflicted because I like the filmmakers all involved. I think a Lego thing can be interesting. I just have no idea if this concept is going to work.
It's weird.
And for them to start spending money and signing names and making announcements of multiple films in a franchise when as of right now, they don't even know if the concept is going to work. They don't even know if the concept is going to work. I find to be a little bit premature. And the fact that this is coming from Universal that already made this mistake with their Dark Universe, I found rather confusing. Anyway, guys, maybe it'll be awesome. I hope that it is. What do you guys think about this? Are you excited for the idea? Does the idea of a live action Lego movie fascinate you? How do you think the approach is going to be handled? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The world of Westeros on the screen has proven to be incredibly successful and insanely lucrative. The original show, Game of Thrones, I feel safe in saying it's not my all-time favorite. It's not my top 3 all-time favorite, but without question, it is the biggest pop cultural impact show ever in history. There's never been a show that's had the pop cultural impact that Game of Thrones has had. And no other shows remotely come close to winning as many Emmys as Game of Thrones did too. Then along came House of the Dragon, which people wondered, will this be any good? Show's amazing. Absolutely fantastic. And clearly there's a big hunger for Game of Thrones and the world of Westeros content. Now, some of you may know that Benioff and Weiss and George R.R. Martin originally wanted, as they were getting through Game of Thrones, the series, they wanted to end it off with movies. They famously wanted to end Game of Thrones with 3 feature films. Now, Warner Brothers didn't want to do that, and that's fine. It worked out great the way Warner Brothers wanted it to, with ratings, Emmys, all that kind of stuff. But there was always the idea there that they wanted to do movies. Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter now, Game of Thrones, a movie, is in early development at Warner Brothers. The studio has been quietly developing a film based on George R.R. Martin's fantasy universe as HBO Max and Warner Brothers increasingly cross-pollinate the company's big fantasy titles. Because remember, we've also got another Game of Thrones series coming shortly with something and egg.
The Hedge Knight.
The Hedge Knight. What are the name of the characters
Duncan
again?
Egg.
That's it.
Well, it's
Thank you.
Aegon. It's Aegon and Sir Duncan something.
So Duncan Egg. And that we've already seen the first production photos coming to that. That series is coming, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be interesting. For them to now try, Warner Brothers, this represents a kind of change in philosophy when it comes to Westeros. And they kind of now believe they can have a huge franchise, not just an individual series, 1 or 2. They believe they can have a huge franchise here. Whether they can or they can't, we'll find out. But the idea of taking it to the big screen and telling a confined 2.5-hour story on the big screen, I can say this right now, I think it's a gamble worth taking. I think it's a roll of the dice that I think is worth a shot because the potential upside is huge. It could fall on its face and fail, but the potential upside is big. Now, what is not in this article is what would the time frame be? When would this take place? Because Game of Thrones happens during the events of Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon takes place, what, 70, 80 years before the events of Game of Thrones? I can't remember exactly.
Oh, it's like 100 something.
Like 100 something? There you go. I think Dunk and Egg are supposed to take place in between that.
That's the one that's like 70 years before.
Yeah, okay. So it's like in between the events of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
So where will this be? I want to propose a couple of options. Option number 1, a movie entirely set in old Valyria.
Ooh.
Like way back. Prior to Aegon and his sister wives coming over and taming of Westeros. Like old Valyria kind of story. In the heyday with dragons and all that kind of stuff, right? So I think that would be interesting. If you want to make a Star Wars comparison, it would be like doing the Old Republic, right? So if you want to do an Old Republic in the world of Game of Thrones, I think there's some very, very cool stories you could tell there. The second one that I think would be interesting to see is fast forward a little bit to Aegon and his sister wives. The Taming of Westeros, like that story, that could be an interesting one too. So I think one, just story strictly in Old Valyria. Two, The Taming of Westeros. The third one, and honestly the one I would personally vote for, I want to see the immediate aftermath of Game of Thrones. I want to see Jon Snow. I know not everybody's going to agree with me on that, and that's fine. But the one I'd be interested in either of those other concepts as well. But for me, I want to see what happens after Jon Snow goes north of the Wall again. And the kingdom needing him, and he has to return. And all that. I would really like to see that. Because you know me, I like my stories moving forward rather than backwards. It's not that you can't do great stuff moving backwards. I just like seeing stories move forward. So that's kind of like what I would like to see at any point. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about the concept of taking, this franchise of Game of Thrones and moving it to the big screen? And what story could they tell? Like, what time period would you like to see them try to cover?
Well, I didn't really have it on my bingo card that we would get Game of Thrones movie announcements before like Blade would move forward or Star Wars was on the big screen again. So there's that. That's just something I'm grappling with myself.
True.
I also don't think George R. R. Martin is ever going to finish any of these books
Of
because
course
why
he's
would he
not.
have to? Why would he have
Yeah.
to? So for that reason, would love to know what happens after the series so we could kind of put a little push on that. Because I am interested in seeing where all of our friends are and what they're up to. And I love Jon Snow and I would love that. And I love Tyrion Lannister. I want more of them. I would like Old Valyria. I'd really like more about the Night King and all the White
I was
Walkers.
leaning that way.
Yeah, I think that's another one that some people
Because
said actually going more into the lore of the Night
They
King.
had that series that they canceled that was supposed to be
Yep.
10,000 years before any of this. I mean, because you could have Old Valyria as well, but
Sure.
this is more about the Andals and the First Men coming to Westeros
Yeah.
and the establishing of the Night King and all of that would be cool.
I think it'd be really, really interesting because you have so much lore that you can dive into, and that's a
Oh, and
a
all the
really messed
children,
up story.
they're pretty much extinct. So all the children
Children
of the forest, these
yeah.
magical creatures
Yeah.
that are no longer living there.
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
But
which
I think the
would be
reason
really interesting.
you brought up one of the reasons that I really would like to see a Jon Snow center one moving forward because it brings back Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage playing Tyrion Lannister is like one of the great characters we've had on television the last
It's
20
a
years.
masterclass in acting,
Right? And I love, I've liked seeing him in several other things that he's been in since. He's done some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But God, he shines. He shines in Game of Thrones. And like the idea of just having like Jon Snow, Tyrion, one or two of the others, Sir Stavros or whatever, like back.
Yeah.
I would love to see what happens next. But again, all that other stuff, Children of the Forest, Night King, Old Valyria, The Taming of Westeros, like all that would be good. And again, will it work? Bring it to the big screen. You guys know I have apprehensions about trying to take TV projects and bring them to the movie theaters. I have some concerns about that, but I think this is a gamble worth taking because the upside is definitely there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you like the idea of them trying to get a Game of Thrones film going in theaters? If so, where would you put it? Let's say they gave you a call and say, what time period should we put it in the history of Westeros? Do you go Old Republic? Do you go New Republic? What do you do with it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to get to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. Of course, you guys send them in using our tip link. Thank you so much for all of you guys who've already sent them in. So, Jonathan, what are we starting off with?
Nick Schmidt says, "Hey crew, did you hear about the live-action Prince Charming movie being directed and co-written by Paul King? It's rumored that Chris Hemsworth is being eyed to play the character."
Yeah, I'm waiting for something more concrete to come out about that, but fascinating. Fascinating. I will say this too. I had a friend of mine send me this article the other day that one of the outlets wrote and basically saying, why are they looking at Chris Hemsworth? He's box office poison.
What?
Chris Hemsworth is not box office poison. It's like he's failed to draw an audience. No. The movies he's in have failed to draw an audience. I mean, I contend today there is no such thing as I don't believe any actor's a box office draw now. There was a while there where Will Smith was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, certainly an argument to be made that if you put Dwayne Johnson in a movie, say like Red One, I think more people will see it than if he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
But we no longer we don't live in an era anymore. We're putting this actor in the movie guarantees it'll make big box office. It doesn't exist anymore. What having certain names in your movie does gives credibility to the general audience about your movie. And I think a name like Chris Hemsworth in the movie definitely gets attention. And so I'm down for this. Again, I love Paul King. I think I would rather see him back on Paddington wait a second. It is Paddington's Paul King we're talking about, right? Or are we talking about the guy who directed
You're thinking of Paul Feig.
I'm thinking, okay, Paul Feig. What was the name of the guy who directed Cats and directed one of my favorite movies like of the last 30 years, King's Speech?
Tom Hooper?
I'm thinking of Hooper. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, I was afraid for a second I was confusing the director of Paddington with the director of that. I was not, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
King did like Wonka, Paddington.
Yeah. And what a job he did on Wonka. Wonka was great. I don't care what anybody says. That movie was great. And I would prefer to see him back on Paddington. I really would. Right. Those movies are just some of the best ever. But it definitely has my attention. So we'll see if this all actually solidifies and becomes more concrete. All right, what's next?
All right, Marcus says, can't explain how excited I am for a potential Game of Thrones movie. Huge fan, even of the last season like you, and hope the movie actually picks up after. And maybe that's why Jon Snow's show was axed, turned into a movie series instead.
You know what? That's exactly my first thought that I had when I saw the news. Is like, because when they were developing the Jon Snow series, it was all sounding very positive, and it all sounded like, yep, they're getting all their ducks in a row and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just got pulled. And I thought, that's really weird. So yeah, when I heard about the movie development, the first thought in my head, and we may be right, we may be wrong, but the first thought in my head, like you, was, I wonder if this is going to be Jon Snow centric, and that's why they pulled the series. I mean, I don't know, but we'll find out. Good thought, though. All right, what's next?
Gavin says, oh, I love Shrinking. Scrubs is my favorite comedy series ever. Creator Bill Lawrence has earned my trust in any show he wants to do. Shrinking is slowly becoming one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm constantly laughing at the show. Derek is my favorite character. Was Scrubs Bill Lawrence as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Derek is the best.
Derek, everybody needs a Derek.
Everybody wants a Derek.
Everybody wants a Derek. Derek is seriously one of my favorite secondary characters in any show.
I love him.
He's so the line. It took me a moment to get the line, but when she sees Derek's son outside walking around, she's, "What are you doing?" My dad just told me to put on his watch and walk around the block 4 times because he wants to eat some fruit. It took me a second, and then I remembered the previous scene. I'm like, oh my God, this. Guys, I know you're getting tired of hearing me say this. You have to watch Shrinking.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, it's emotionally touching and moving and all that kind of stuff, but the writing on it is some of the fastest, quickest writing. Then, you know what else is really, really good at that? Modern Family was great. The quick, rapid, it's the lines between the lines kind of stuff. And this takes it to the next level. Guys, you have to be watching Shrinking. Watch Shrinking, it's so good. All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gollum says, hello, y'all. Regarding Rings of Power Season 2 finale, Charlie Vickers, Sauron, mentioned him shedding some tears when Celebrimbor passed away. Wasn't planned, but something that happened organically. Sauron looked moved. I loved how Charlie showed that Sauron is a multi-layered, complex villain, that despite being pure evil, he did feel something for his collaborator, while also feeling burnt, as Brimby said, he's a slave of the rings, which is so true.
I think there's a lot of different ways to interpret the tears there, because I remember when I was watching that and he showed the tears. I don't know if I'm saying I don't know, right? I'm not discounting it. I'm saying I don't know. I don't know if it was a matter of that he had genuine affection for Celebrimbor. I don't know if it was a tear for, I had plans for him and now those plans are gone, sort of a tear. I don't know if it was a tear of joy that I'm seeing my machinations come to fruition, but all that still lends to what you're saying, is that they made him a very instead of just a devil character, right? Because in Peter Jackson's iterations, which are masterpieces, Sauron is basically Satan. He's basically just the devil character. to actually look at him in this series as an individual, particularly in season 2, not so much season 1, as an individual, and give him some layers of complexity, I thought was really quite good. And I did like that about him. What did you think about that? Some people may be turned off by showing multiple layers of what is essentially the devil character, but how did you take
The
that?
Bible shows sympathy for the devil.
Sometimes it
I
does.
mean, so this was a criticism I saw for Sauron, for the orcs and everything as well, of I shouldn't sympathize with the evil characters. And this was something that Tolkien himself had talked about in his writings of, I don't feel particularly comfortable with the idea of absolute evil and absolute good, because absolute evil creates the notion that people or things are not redeemable. And so I thought having some of these nuances in there is very interesting. And also, when you are the villain in someone's story, you're not seeing yourself as the villain in yours.
Yeah.
Like, all y'all who have crazy exes, that crazy ex, they're talking to their therapist, and their therapist saying, yeah, that person's a real piece of shit. You're in the right about everything. Everyone's story is different based on perspective. So obviously, Sauron's going to have a very different view of what he's doing and what he's executing for what he feels is the greater good. I think it works beautifully.
All right. What's next?
Rev Matt says, funny story, while catching up on Penguin episode 6, including your recap, YouTube served me an ad for The Sticky, an Amazon movie or series about the $9.1 million maple syrup heist here in Canada. Have you seen it? Have any interest?
Anything that's set in Canada, I will have interest, but I have not seen it. No, I'd be lying to you if I said I've seen it. So, I mean, I heard something about it if it's the thing I'm thinking about, but I have not yet seen it myself. But it does sound interesting the way you put it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, I know all art is subjective and people tend to be their own biggest critics, especially earlier work, and Spielberg is the GOAT, but I'm genuinely shocked to learn he doesn't think highly of Hook.
Is there a question there?
Just that he's surprised, I guess, that he doesn't like Hook.
Yeah.
Or he's not as big on Hook.
Is that something that's known?
Well, see, Hook is a divisive movie with a lot of people. I love Hook. I think Hook is amazing. That movie, I've gone back and revisited it. It brings me so much joy. I just think it's fantastic. But yeah, every filmmaker is going to look at certain things they do and like certain ones more than others, and that
Right.
will line up with some people and not with others.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Twilight Boy.
Twilight
boy.
My most hyped upcoming Marvel project is Vision Quest for one reason. Terry Metalis. Picard Season 3 is the single biggest quality turnaround I've ever seen, and 12 Monkeys was incredible. He's an incredible talent catch for the MCU.
Rob, why didn't you use your real name?
Yeah, Rob.
Which show were we talking about?
Vision Quest.
Vision
Vision
Quest.
Quest, right. So when they went out and got Terry to do that, it shook a lot of things. Now, again, I think part of the reason certain people I like Picard Season 3 very much, just to be clear. But I think a lot of people just liked it because it was basically, it wasn't Picard anymore. They just made it Star Trek The Next Generation, the extra season. And that appealed to a lot of people. And it was really good. And I enjoyed it a great deal. But his addition to Vision Quest, I remember when we first talked about, to me, that was fascinating. And to see what they're going to do with that. Now, I still don't think, a lot of people now in the aftermath of Agatha All Along think, oh, Vision Quest is going to about now him meeting Billy and then him and Billy going off and trying to find, Tommy. And I don't think that at all. I don't think Wanda's going to be in it. I don't know that she won't. I don't think Billy's going to be in it. I don't know that he's not. I'm just saying, I think this is truly going to be a true Vision-centric series. And with him doing it, it's raised the interest level quite a bit. All right, what's next?
The Tick says, didn't Discovery execs chastise Warner staff about producing and releasing a Clint Eastwood movie as a favor to him, even though everyone thought it would flop? It feels like the exact same thing happened with Juror Number 2, or am I missing some other details? Well, it's only playing in 50 theaters. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's a small little limited release that at least gives it some awards qualifications.
Right. The budget
So-
was like 30 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with the other one, because yes, when the head of Warner Brothers took over, David Zaslav, they looked at what was the Clint Eastwood movie?
Wasn't it Cry Macho?
It
Or was
may
it
have
not?
been Cry Macho.
It was Cry Macho.
And like he came in after the fact and looked and said, like, wait a second, what's going on with this movie? And like all the executives said, yeah, we knew nobody was going to see it. We knew it was going to flop. And yet we put a full marketing campaign behind it and gave it a full theatrical release, which ultimately lost them a lot of money. And his thing was, if you knew nobody was going to see it and you knew it was going to fail and you knew it was going to cost us tens of millions of dollars in losses, why did you go ahead and put it out anyway? Well, because it's Clint Eastwood. And he said, look, that's great. Clint Eastwood's a goat, but business is business. So for them to say roll out, if they are going to roll out a limited release, my guess, first of all, that won't cost them tens of millions of dollars to do. It gives them at least minimal awards consideration. And if they did give it a full release, then it would probably be because the executives feel that there is a chance for it to make movie. The thing with Cry Macho is all the executives said they didn't believe it could make any money, and they didn't believe it would have any success.
They spent quite a bit on marketing for Cry Macho.
Yes,
too.
they did. They did. I mean, not compared to a Marvel movie,
but like
for what it
number
is.
2, they paid a trailer house, but I have not seen billboards or anything. For it.
So much so that there's speculation of it just being buried.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Mega Red says tonight I'm watching Deathly Hallows Part 2 in concert with this. Oh man,
Fun.
that music's gonna be so good. With the Seattle Symphony, I'm so hyped. It's been a while since I've revisited the Harry Potter movies. What's y'all's favorite Harry Potter movie? Mine is Goblet of Fire, followed by the last one. I mean, it's John. I mean, I know John Williams in all of it, but he laid the foundation of that music.
Yeah,
that music's stunning.
Yeah.
The last film. Yeah, Deathly Hallows Part 2 is my favorite one, actually.
I love Prisoner of Azkaban.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people. That's my least favorite one.
That was the
Is
shift.
it because of the stylistic differences
like
that
time
Cuarón
travel.
brings to it? Oh, and time travel, yeah.
Yeah, but I love most of his other movies. I don't know. To me, the third one, which is a lot of people's favorite.
It's because it was a shift in tone too.
Yeah.
I also found it kind of disjointed. I didn't find that it flowed well. But again, I acknowledge for a lot of Potter fans, Prisoner of Azkaban is their favorite one. Ironically enough, for me, it was my least. I didn't dislike it. It just was my least favorite.
It was Order until Half-Blood Prince. Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah,
is
Half-Blood Prince is
number-
really good.
All right, what's next?
Mega Red says tonight. Oh, sorry, Mega Red. Just read that one already. Anonymous has had a Halloween double feature of Alien Romulus and What We Do in the Shadows.
Nice.
Poor Peter, our friend, has just been killed in a fatal sunlight. Wait a minute, dude! You literally watched the episode I just watched. Wait,
No,
oh,
I think he's talking
Peter-
about the movie.
Yeah,
He's talking about
no.
the original movie.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. When they announced, first of all, when I first saw What We Do in the Shadows, because I heard a lot of hype about it, the movie, and then I watch it and I'm like, okay, I'm sure this is going to be funny, just not as funny as people are making out to be. I laughed my ass off. And that scene, oh no, Peter. Oh my God, that the movie's so good. And then they announced they were doing a series. And I thought, this is a stupid idea. It's just going to be like a cheap, watered-down version of the movie that's not going to be funny. And the series is so good.
Because they did a similar thing in the series in season 1 with that the Dark Prince.
Oh yeah, but it was Doug. What's his name? Doug. He usually does the motion capture.
Doug Jones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Doug
He does all the
Jones
prosthetic
is
work, yeah.
as the big vampire. I mean, oh my God, this is so good. It's a nice double feature. That's a great double feature. All right, what's next?
Tristan Thorpe says, I finally caught up on Harley Quinn season 4 when Ivy accidentally shoots Captain Cold with the pretzel gun and Captain Cold goes, the bullets are cookies. It had me laughing so hard. Also, the whole thing with Bane and pasta making, I'm ready for season 5.
Speaking of shows that I thought was a stupid idea, Harley Quinn. I mean, I was so against it. And I didn't like the trailers or anything like that. And then I saw the series and it's just, I love the Harley Quinn show. And Bane is one of my favorite guys on TV. If they actually did an entire Bane series, I'd probably watch it. But he's probably more effective as a side character. But the whole thing about learning to make pasta in Italy killed me. One, because I'm Italian. And I just imagined my nonna trying to teach Bane how to make pasta. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was great. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, John, how big do you think Last of Us Season 2 series will be? Just rewatched episode 3, Bill and Frank's episode, and man, I forgot how good that single episode was. The whole show was good, but that was special and one of my favorite TV episodes ever.
Yeah.
I went to go watch, why am I freezing on Ron Swanson's real name? Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman. Yeah.
Ann and I went to go see Nick Offerman live last year because we're huge Parks and Recs fans and we loved him so much in Last of Us. And he said something really interesting. He said, somebody asked him, like, when did you know that what you shot for Last of Us was going to be big? He goes, I realized how big it is when people don't even have to say the name of the show. When people just say episode 3, we all know what we're talking about. If I just came on and started talking about episode 3, we don't think we're talking about House of the Dragon. We don't think we're talking about Fallout. We don't think we're talking about Andor. We don't think we're talking about Shogun. Like you just say episode 3. We all know what we're talking about. We're all talking about Last of Us episode 3.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Star Wars.
It was maybe the best single episode of television in the past 3 or 4 years. It was just phenomenal. And it was a departure from the game. It was heavy adaptation, but it was a bit of a departure from the game, and it's simply one of the best. And he was talking about how special that was for him and all that kind of stuff. And I love the show overall. Like overall, I think Last of Us is just brilliant.
I think that
But that episode was still good.
My only issue with The Last of Us, how it just like the last couple episodes, last 3 episodes, I think after that one where that neighborhood got hit with the big rush of the zombies or whatever. You want to
Oh yeah,
call
that
it,
came up out of from underground.
After that, you didn't really see any more for the last few episodes. It was just dealing with humans and getting her to the hospital. It's almost like their budget like went out for them, and it was just dealing with because you had the cannibal villagers in the winter scene.
Yeah.
And then you had them getting to the hospital, and you didn't really see any more infected after that.
I was fine with that though because they focused on the story.
Yeah,
the
but I
last
just
couple
kind of feel like it should
People
be
are
a
the real
constant.
monsters.
I still feel like it should be constant. I think in this season 2, they're going to be a constant.
Well, supposedly we're getting spores this time as
Yeah.
well, so that's going to up the ante on things.
What I don't want Last of Us to become is like every week is just a fight the infected. I think part of the reason why I loved it so much is because they did focus on the characters.
Yeah, but they could have had them like creeping around somewhere to hide, sneak away.
I was good because here's the other problem. If you have them in the show too much, then you get desensitized to it. Then the impact of the horror that it has when they do show up, I think might be lessened the more you use it. But I don't know. We'll see. Now it's going to be interesting because they're taking game 2 and splitting it into 2 seasons. So it'll be interesting to see how long we have Pedro Pascal in the next season. So we'll see. All right. What's next?
Wesley says, "Good new Godzilla movie coming by the writer, director, VFX supervisor of -1. The MonsterVerse is fun, but -1 was my jam. Can't imagine what he can do with a real budget. Yeah, if they get some more money and really put it into that.
Oh, they're okay. Yeah, they're
no more of this like weird stomping.
They're definitely going to give him a bigger budget. This thing, but I want to remind everybody about something. There's this Mandela effect going around. We talked about it too, like with Mad Max Fury Road. It's like everybody remembers that being a huge blockbuster hit. It didn't make much money in reality. It made what did Mad Max Fury Road make? Like 300 something million?
Somewhere around there.
Like it wasn't even one Black Adam. As phenomenal. I love Godzilla -1.
380 was Mad Max.
As Mad Max Fury Road made 380, but everybody remembers it being a huge blockbuster
Furiosa
hit. Right?
made 173.
Yeah. Furiosa. Yeah, don't.
Yeah, -1 did not,
But -1, I just need to remind everybody that while it was made for a very, very small budget, and I love this movie. I love Godzilla -1. Not many people actually watched it.
Yeah, 115 mil.
It made $115 million. Now, yes, you can go, but compared to how much it cost, yes, but take out how much it cost. In the grand scheme of things, how many people actually watched it? Not a lot. Less than the people who went to go see Furiosa. Now, it was a lot more financially successful than Furiosa because it cost so little to make. So they will give him more money because he made that movie for bus fare.
Yeah.
Like absolute bus fare. I think it cost them more to send the producers to the Oscars than it cost them to make that movie. But if you're starting to think they're going to give him like a real Hollywood budget, like $120 million budget, because can you imagine what that guy would do with a $120 million budget with a Godzilla movie? It'd be crazy. But they won't, because the reality is Godzilla Minus One made $115 million. Will the next one make more? Bet your ass it will. Bet your ass it will. But will it make $400 million? I don't think so. So they'll give him more, like maybe a $20 million budget this time or something. It's still, whatever he can do, I'm curious to see what he'll do with it. All right, what's next?
Anish Kapish says, thoughts on Kelly MacDonald being cast as Hal Jordan's love interest in HBO's Lanterns. Loved her in No Country and Boardwalk Empire.
I honestly don't know who she is off the top of my head.
Oh, she's a Scottish actress. She's the
Yeah.
one that's married.
Oh, the one.
He was married
Oh,
to.
yes. I loved her in that show. And then she was just recently, she popped up in something else. Is she the one? Okay, the guy from Billions.
Damian Lewis?
Yes. He's got a show or a series coming out where they're a vampire family that tries not to kill people.
Oh.
And their kids, they didn't know if their kids would end up being vampires. And they
The Radleys.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the
And is
Radleys.
she in that? Is she playing his
Yeah.
wife? Okay, that's where I saw her again
Okay.
recently. Yes. First of all, that show looks really interesting.
That sounds very
because
cool.
then Damian Lewis has a twin brother vampire who shows up, but he's more of a traditional vampire. No, we should be killing humans. It looks really good.
That's fun.
But anyway, I always loved her in Boardwalk Empire. And I didn't know that she got added to this. That's fabulous.
I first learned of her in Trainspotting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She is in one of my favorite like cheesy rom-coms ever, Decoy Bride. Highly recommend.
All right, anyway. Okay, I think that's great news. What's
Yeah.
next?
Tron says, "Are you excited for Spider-Man Noir show?" I'm not gonna lie, I am kind of curious of seeing a 60-plus-year-old Spider-Man. Does the age concern you at all? Also, the showrunner did Punisher season 1.
I am very I'll put it. I'll fall short of saying I'm super excited, but I'm very interested in the Spider-Man Noir show. And remember, it's not a 60-year-old Peter Parker, right? This is a very definitive, very clearly defined character, Spider-Man Noir. There's a different kind of Spider-Man, so I'm fine with the age. That's fine. I don't mind that at all. It all depends on how they're going to play out the character. And I'm sure this Spider-Man's actually going to probably be 47 or something, even though Nick Cage is up there. But yeah, I'm really interested. I've liked the first images I've seen. I think it could be really neat. I'm not going to say I'm super excited yet, but let's wait till we see a full trailer. All right, what's next?
PD Pete says, random thought of the day. What will happen next? The Leafs win the cup or John releasing his dance tapes? The Leafs win the cup.
Leafs winning the cup. No, they're still there. I confirm they're still there. There are some VHS tapes of Pisces here at doing some professional breakdancing gigs. The tapes still exist, and I will never let them see the light of day. They will never surface. Ever. Sometimes when Anne's trying to get me to do something, she'll use that as leverage. She'll go, it would be a shame someday if those tapes maybe made their way online. Like, she uses that against me because
That's smart.
she's horrible. But no, those tapes will never see the light of day. All right, what's next?
Got Rude Boy.
Rude boy.
Boy.
I did not have Peter Schilling's Major Tom being attached to Star Wars on my calendar for 24. I just got used to hearing it played and sang by German fans at Euro 2024 after Germany's winning games. Well, it was in it.
I don't want to go too into it because I know there's still some people who haven't seen Venom. But man, that music number was so bad. It was so bad and so drawn. And so now you've made me think about that. Now I'm sad.
Wow.
Now I'm sad. My whole day is now going to be sad.
You know what? Show's over.
All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher said, do you ever see that short about modern day Westeros? Show me that. Show me a descendant of the Starks trying to win an election against Prime Minister Lannister. Yeah, it was just like a fake trailer. It was a fan trailer. And it showed like almost like a modern day New York, but then like the shadow of a dragon is coming over and you see banners for Lannister or whatever.
I have not seen that. What I did see was that horrible AI generated Game of Thrones in a trailer park.
Oh yeah,
You saw that one?
yeah.
I'm ready for this whole thing to die. I like every 5 minutes an AI generated trailer for a 1940s Star Wars movie, and an AI generated trailer for this. I'm like, it was cute the first time I saw it. It was like when deepfakes. Remember deepfakes started?
Yeah.
Like the first deepfake video or two that came out, it's like, that's really interesting. Then every fucking buddy started making them. It's like, you know what? I'm so over the deepfake stuff, and then it died out. I'm ready for the AI generated ones to die out too. Like, AI can be an incredible tool that can be used really, really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing the interesting and creative way filmmakers use it to do stuff. But this whole just Game of Thrones in a trailer park, AI generate, go like that. I'm ready for that shit to be over.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. What's next?
We got Sam Fisher. Did you ever see? Oh no. We got Gus Gas Station says there is a 4th director that was picked for the live action Lego movie, and as I can understand why they were quiet on this one, Gasper, no, he is directing the erotic thriller Lego Pig in a Hole.
Oh God.
That's only if the first 3 work out well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 3 work out well.
The first 3 holes? Where,
Oh boy.
Oh.
Sometimes Chris says things that I dare not respond to. That I just dare not. I feel like she's like throwing bait out there that I
demonetize.
that I must not take. Must not take the bait. All right. What's next?
Lily James says Josh Brolin's character in Old Boy, I don't even know who you are. Elizabeth Olsen's character in Old Boy, you will.
That's funny. You got to know Old Boy.
But does she? I don't remember. She wasn't aware, right?
No.
Or what? No. Yeah.
No. Did she know she was fucking daddy?
Well,
no,
she
didn't know. But that moment when you realize, but that's a great comparison. I don't even know who you are. You will. That is very applicable to Old Boy, actually. Well done. That was really good. All right. What's
we got
next?
some member questions here.
Great.
Godzilla says yes. Godzilla minus. Yeah. It says yes. Godzilla minus 1 sequel confirmed. I'm so happy. His name is Godzilla too, so I got confused.
Yeah, I am very interested to see where they go with Godzilla. Like, the one thing though that about Godzilla, and I love Godzilla minus 1, but Godzilla movies have the danger of just becoming like zombie movies where they're all the same. You can have some that are better than others, like Train to Busan. It's still really, when you break it down, Train to Busan is just like any other zombie movie. It just happens to be done really, really well. A lot of the Godzilla movies tend to just basically be the same. Here comes Godzilla. Stomp, stomp, stomp. How do we stop Godzilla? And then you think you stop him, but he's not really stopped. And I just hope they're able to find ways to keep it really fresh and feel really great. Again, they did a very good job with the Godzilla minus 1. I hope he's able to continue that. All right, what's next?
Oh, we got Joel Checky who says you guys talked yesterday about the big movies coming out. There was also a lot of great TV in the next 4 weeks. So Arcane season 2,
Yep.
Dune Prophecy, Skeleton Crew. Wait, Skeleton Crew is coming out that quick?
December, so like a little over a month from
Okay,
now.
all right.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
Creature Commandos, and I'm sure more I'm missing. Can't wait to watch the John Williams doc that dropped today on Disney Plus.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that too. Yeah, there's some really, really good television coming. Like, I was thinking about that too the other day because it's like, crap, like Penguin's almost done. We've only got 2 weeks left of Penguin. And I surprisingly really enjoyed Agatha, and that just ended. So yeah, we've got some really good stuff coming. I'm excited. Now, I'm sure some of it's going to end up being crap, but it's probably some of it's going to end up being really good. And I think this Star Wars Skeleton Crew show is going to be awesome. I just have a great feeling about it because I need it to be. Because, yeah, we haven't had anything good Star Wars since Andor, so come on. All right, what's next?
Top Gun Manny says, do you see Sony rebooting the live-action Spideyverse movies after Kraven? Spider-Man never showed up, so it shouldn't be too hard to start fresh, right?
No, they can't. Sony cannot do live action Spider-Man. As long as they're in their deal with Marvel, anything being done with live action Spider-Man is in the MCU. So Sony right now is relegated because of their deal, and they're making money on it. They're making money on Spider-Man being in the MCU, but they are going to be relegated to be doing these other characters. And they can make them great. Like, I remember everybody said when they were making the first Venom, nobody's going to see it. Nobody cares about Venom if Spider-Man isn't there, and blah, 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 blah. What happened? Oh, $800+ million later, right? You can make these movies great, and you can make them successful, even though none of them have Spider-Man in them. It's been proven. You're an idiot if you don't think they can. They can. They've already done it. The problem is they keep shitting the bed. Since then, Morbius, Madam Web, Venom 3. I mean, they just keep crapping the bed. But no, you're not going to see them doing live action Spider-Man because under the terms of the deal they have, Marvel is not interested in having Spider-Man in their universe if Sony is also going to be doing live. Like, there's going to only be one. So no, they will not be rebooting the live action Spider-Man as long as Spider-Man is still in the MCU. All right, what's next?
Ron says, what do you think? Does Skeleton Crew use the opening crawl or not? I don't think so.
No, they've moved away from it, and they absolutely should. I think everything Star Wars should have opening crawl. Not only narratively is it a great tool to really set the stage for the audience, you can literally cover the ground of 10 minutes of exposition in just one quick crawl. And I think that's something that should be a part of the DNA of anything that is Star Wars. So will they? No. Should they? Yes. Chris, what do you think about that?
I like the opening crawl. I don't know. If we are living in that very like Goonies, late 80s, early 90s kind of feel, though, can't we just have like someone doing a Cyndi Lauper impersonation in Star Wars languages, singing some nonsense while we just see everybody's names popping up slowly in a title sequence as they all assemble?
You know what? I'm sure that's something they considered. All right, what's next?
Okay, Fanjector says, it brings me all the joy in the world that Inside Out 2 overtook The Lion King because I was so tired of outlets mislabeling The Lion King. Now at least it's an undisputed animated movie at number 1 since they refused to accept The Lion King was animated.
I still don't understand. Why is everybody stupid?
Jesus.
Why is everybody stupid? Like, that's, and I agree with you. Like, it was such a relief when it passed Lion King, because then, yes, now you can say it's the highest grossing animated film of all time. I don't know why the whole world takes stupid pills when they start talking about that Lion King movie. It is an animated film. There's nothing about it that is not an animated film. It is a completely animated film. The opening shot of the sunrise. They decided for fun to put it the opening shot of the sunrise. That's it. Those 2 seconds. That's it. Everything else in the movie, completely animated film. But John, you see, Disney calls it the live action. I don't give a fuck what Disney calls it. Okay? I don't give a fuck what they call it. It is an animated film. And I just don't know why the whole world went stupid about it. Anyway. All right. What's next?
We got our last one here from Amin, who says Skeleton Crew trailer is great and the show looks really fun, but in my opinion, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. Without the title credits and those shots of the Jawas, most people wouldn't know it's Star Wars. They just think it was a sci-fi epic. I want to see new settings and characters in Star Wars, but this feels like it's a part of the same universe. Just my thoughts. But I kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about this.
It's a little refreshing because we're going to get plenty of our stereotypical Star Wars.
I want to find out who it was, because I think it was Engadget, that they said something very interesting in their article about it. Yeah, this is what they said. I don't know if you got my NDI there, but the guy in Engadget, I love what he wrote, because I'm so right there. It says, the trailer also showcases one of the things I'm personally most interested in with this show. Some of it is set in settled planets, likely core worlds, such as Coruscant. There are suburban neighborhoods and schools. There are people going to work. We haven't really gotten many looks at how regular people lived in Star Wars, in the galaxy far, far away. And I kind of love the fact that a part of this is showing us, what happens in just normal parts of where just people live their lives. That wasn't a desolate desert planet or something along those lines. What did most of the people living in Star Wars look like? And I love that it did that. And listen, once they get into it too, and once we find out who Jude Law is and the context of the New Republic is all there, I'm sure that's going to become more and more apparent. But what have I been crying for Star Wars to do for the last 10 years?
Kill Baby Grogu.
Kill Baby Grogu, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Not
number
for the
one.
last 10 years, but
But also expand the universe. Because Star Wars for the past 20 years has done nothing but go back to the things we already know. Even Mandalorian to some degree has kind of been guilty of that. Look, guys, it's that cantina that Luke and Obi-Wan were in, right? They just continue to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink the Star Wars universe, expand it. And I think that's one of the things that really excites me about this.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it works out, but we'll see. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to let you guys know it's been a while, but I'm going to be doing an open mic a little bit later today. So if you're around a little bit later this evening, I'll put it up in the community tab on the YouTube channel about what time exactly. I think it's probably going to be about 8 o'clock East Coast time. I'll let you know a little bit later. But I'm going to be doing an open mic later. I haven't done that in a while. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, for everybody in the room with me, Ray Ora,
Let's see, guys.
Jonathan Voico,
Later.
Chris Carr.
bye.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.